there is a dark side to losing weight, weighing yourself, and how that impacts your mental health. Now I see this time and time again with clients who come in to lose weight and then they're not necessarily prepared for the roller coaster of a journey that is. Now people come in and they tend to think that weight loss is linear, meaning that it's just straight down, and it's not necessarily like that, because as we know, we're humans and life is always happening. You're never going to have 6 months of nothing happening in your life where there's no problems, no troubles, nothing goes wrong, you don't get sick. So the whole journey is up and down. You're always fighting against something. So losing weight is an absolute mission in itself. But another thing that isn't really spoken about too much is how weighing yourself every day can impact your mental health. Now again, I see this time and time again with people who see themselves as failures because of the daily fluctuations on the scale. And I always have to remind them, you're here, you're working with me to look a certain way, to change how you look, to change how you feel. Who cares what a wee number on the scale actually says? Of course, we want to take into account that it's moving down and it's trending down, but at the end of the day, you're here to change how you look and feel. You don't, like if you looked and felt amazing and you had the confidence that you want, you wouldn't care what that number said, would you? And the answer is always no. But what I see is people getting really disheartened to the extent where they think that they're a failure and they're beating themselves up by not moving as fast as they want. Not recognising that the scale's changing every day regardless, based on water retention, what you ate the day before, how late you ate, you know, what's happening inside your body hormonally, how you slept, your stress response. There's so many different factors that go into it that people aren't taking into account. They just see half a kilo going on, oh, I'm a failure, I'm terrible, half a kilo down, woohoo, time to celebrate. And that's an everyday thing. So one thing that I always encourage people is to not necessarily get lost in the weeds, but it's to zoom out, take a bigger view of the bigger picture and look at weekly and monthly trends rather than the day-to-day stuff, because again, I've seen it happen so many times where people end up miserable. Now these are people who have lost a stone, 2 stone, 10, 20 kilos, whatever it is, and they would have killed to have been where they're at just now 6 months ago, but their mental health and their mindset is just so traumatized, it's so shook up because of this daily up and down on the scale. So much so that sometimes we just have to take the scale away altogether, because yes, even though it's a tool, it's not the only tool that we've got. And if it's going to cause so much stress and anxiety in people's lives, then it's not worth taking it. And if that's you, it might be worthwhile taking that step away from the scale and looking at other non-scale victories. Before we talk about what those non-scale victories are, I think it's just important to recognise that the scale does change every day, regardless of whether you've been on plan or not. So try and avoid beating yourself up about it, because again, when you have the bigger picture view in your mind, you'll get to see the trends and be able to realise where things are going on and why things are happening. Oh, the scale always goes up on the weekend because, you know, I'm out with my friends and I'm just retaining a bit of water, but then Monday, Tuesday comes around and it just drops rapid again. You can start to think logically about it rather than emotionally. Another thing is those non-scale victories, as I mentioned, are so important. You know, looking at other forms of progress, things like taking progress photos and analysing them every 4 weeks is going to give you a bigger and a better understanding of your body changing. Because again, the scale can do what it wants. You cannot deny holding up evidence of you now and then you in 4 weeks. And if there's any changes, awesome. If there's not, then you've got solid proof that something needs to change. On top of taking progress photos, you know, people take measurements, which is also another good indicator, because the scale can change. You might not lose any inches, but that's absolutely fine. If you're in the gym weightlifting, you know, you might be losing fat but putting on a bit of muscle. So having something like measurements could also just be a good indicator, because you're losing those inches off your waist, which again is what you're looking for if you're trying to lose weight. Those are like objective markers, you know, the things that you cannot dispute. But there's other things that we monitor as well, and I encourage you to look at when it comes to your own weight loss, and it's the things that are away from it. So the subjective things, like, you know, things like your clothes, are they getting looser or are they getting tighter? Are you feeling more confident? One of the things as well that happens typically within the first few months is when people lose weight, their confidence goes up so much so that they change their posture. You know, they stand up more tall, shoulders are back, chest is high. They just walk around with a lot more confidence than they did previously, which is always good. And then on top of that, how are you feeling on a day-to-day basis? Are you feeling more energised? Are you able to climb the stairs without being out of breath? Do you naturally feel better in yourself? those are the things and the key areas that we want to focus on and we want to change. And yes, of course, we want the scale to be trending down and we want the progress photos to be changing. Don't just fixate on the scale, because there's a million other things that we can be tracking and monitoring, which at the end of the day is going to help your mental health, it's going to help your stress levels, and it's going to stop you kind of spiraling in this sense of, I'm a failure, the scale's going up and down so much, I'm not doing this right, there's something wrong with me, which is not necessarily the case. You're just fixating on one thing of many, which isn't ideal. So hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully it saves you a bunch of stress. And if you did find it useful, YouTube's going to recommend another video right here.